是承寿寺站，下车的乘客请提前做好准备。远途的乘客请往车厢中部走。乘车时请坐稳扶好，不要倚靠或手扶车门。Welcome to subway line 10. The next station is 承寿寺. Please get ready for your arrival.
Welcome back to another motovlogger adventure. We are still in Beijing, and I know you're sick and tired of hearing me say that because I always start off my motovlogs the same way. But I am slightly late for work. Let's go this way. I haven't gone this way since my first motovlog, and yeah, it's as the days are slowly creeping towards me leaving Beijing, it's slowly, my mind is slowly changing towards that type of mentality and thinking, because I know my life won't be as exciting as, okay, you can go, car, you can go. I know my life won't be as, I don't know. My life is, I guess I shouldn't say exciting, but my life won't be as fast-paced as it is here in Beijing. I'll have to slowly get accustomed back to the slow-paced life of farmland, as I like to call it, Delaware. Compared to Beijing, it's basically one big farm, one big village. So quiet. 30,000 people compared to 30 million people. No noise pollution, no air pollution, blue skies, clouds everywhere, sunny, just beautiful air. Everything's so amazing. No, definitely not a concrete jungle like Beijing. And I'm slowly thinking about that feeling, like the smell. Like when I smell something, like my nose is stronger for some reason. Like I can smell Delaware. Like it's that close for me. I will say one thing about China, and that's the amount of bicyclists and motorcyclists, scooterists. There are many, and what really took me by surprise when I came here in Beijing, and what I realized over the past 6 months is that, man, old people are really healthy here, man. I'm kind of jealous. It's like this 55, 60-year-old man. Look at these. They're sprinkling the. Anyways, back to what I was saying. I'll be when I used to take the bus to work, I'll be like late and I'll like run to the bus stop, and I'll like look over to my right, and there's like another person running with me, and I'm like, oh, okay, he's late too. But then I look over at Glenn again, and it's like some old dude, and it's like he's running as fast as I am. I'm like, what the, you know, like these people are pretty healthy, man. And what is this car doing, dude? And also, they ride bicycles here and everything, man. They don't mess around, yo. They're pretty healthy. I mean, we're talking about old women and old men. Just flat out chucking it on a bicycle, uphill, downhill. Sometimes they have like like a big cart in the back, and I'm just like, whoa, man, that's impressive. I mean, and they look old. They look so old, but they're just still pushing. You're just like, how is that even possible? Like, what you see, the eyes don't match with the action, you know? With that being said, also, in my neighborhood, there's a lot of old people, like I mentioned earlier, and you will see them like hunching over like this, and they are walking really, really slowly, and you can tell, wow, man, this person is like really old, you know, he can't even move anymore. But he'll freaking turn around, look at you, and then like put his freaking leg up on the darn, like on some tree branch, like higher than you can, and you're just like, what the, like some ballerina dancer, some gymnastics, like yoga some stuff. You're just like, what the, how do you put your leg up that high? And you're like 70, 80 years old, yo. It's crazy. But yeah, a lot of things surprise you here in China, man. Like, old people are definitely in shape here. Like, look at this old dude right here on my left. Look, just chilling. Just don't give a you know what, man. You're just like, what? I mean, old people in America, I feel like, from what I've experienced in my hometown, they're not that lively, I guess. There's like retirement homes, and then there's like specific neighborhoods where all the old people just live, and they're quiet, and they just sit on their front porch and they don't do anything. But here in China, man, they're pretty lively, man. Yeah, so you gotta respect that, man. They hustle here too. It's definitely a different type of feel out here. Beijing, unbelievable. This city is definitely something special, man. This city is definitely something special. Definitely. It's just this feel to it, man, that like, you know, everyone's on like their own little journey, you know, everyone's on their own little journey trying to chase a dream, and everyone just hustling and working really hard. But at the same time, man, I kind of hate being in this position. It's like a love-hate relationship with big cities, you know. I'm sure anyone who lives in a big city can relate, because you feel like a freaking slave. That's like the worst feeling in the world, when you feel like you're a slave to money. That's the worst feeling in the world. When you're being controlled by money, man, that's the worst feeling in the world, man. And I sympathize with a lot of my coworkers and a lot of my students as well. You know, they'll tell me stories about this and that, and I'm just like, oh, come on, you can't be serious. One specific example is, maybe, for example, their salary is 5,000 or 6,000 RMB per month. I'm like, okay, how many hours do you work per week? Well, yeah, I work 9 to 6, but actually I have to work overtime, and I never finish my work because my boss always gives me extra work. I'm like, okay, what time do you finish work? Well, I might work overtime until 10 o'clock. Okay, you work 9 to 10. Well, oh my gosh, you must be getting a lot of overtime pay. You must be saving a lot of money these days. No, Dave, we don't get paid extra. I'm like, that's illegal. What do you mean you don't get paid extra? Like, if you work more than 8 hours per day, that 9th to 10th or 11th hour, you're going to get paid, you know, overtime, right? no, Dave, it's not like that in China. I'm like, what? You're working for free? I can't, like, oh, yes, Dave, it's very common in China. Actually, many people, I'm like, oh, man, like, I don't respond like that to them. I just keep a calm head, I just like, oh, okay, that's that. I didn't know that. Thank you for telling me. That's interesting. But I mean, and in my head, I'm going crazy. Like, what do you mean you don't get paid? How is that even possible? How are you not getting compensated for all the work you're putting in? I don't get that. So I mean, I'm trying not to respond too negatively, and I'm not trying to criticize and judge too quickly because maybe I don't have too much information about the situation. But if you know anything, leave a comment below. How's that possible? How is that even possible? Like, I don't understand. How are you gonna pay these people like, $1,000 a month? What is this guy doing, dude? How are you gonna pay these people, $1,000 a month, but have them work like overtime, and you're not going to compensate them for the extra hours you're making them work? And I mean, the way I think about it is, I think what it is that they're replaceable. The fact of the matter is that there's freaking so many people here is that you're replaceable. It's just too bad. You either do it or you don't feel like doing it. We're going to find someone else that does it, and you're not going to have a job. So I think they're going to appreciate the fact of having a job first, rather than even thinking about getting paid overtime. And another thing is, I remember having certain classes where we'll talk about, conflict, and we'll talk about voicing one's opinions, and the culture here is very, very different, and sometimes you might say things that are, you're saying something unwillingly or unintentionally hurting other people while, yes. So like, for example, in the classes, I have to be very careful, you know what I mean? Because there are times where I would say things, and I would say, unintentionally, I was hurting someone or offending someone, and I just wasn't aware, and they, they forgave me for that. I remember giving a class one time on conflict, and how conflict is supposed to be a good thing, because when you disagree and you voice your opinion, we learn from each other, and you shouldn't be quick to judge someone, and so forth. And we talked about conflict in the workplace and all of these things. So and then I told them, what do you do when you disagree with authority, or, if you disagree with how, what's going on in terms of the workflow in your own business environment. And they all said, no, we don't say anything. We just obey, and we don't really voice our opinions. If we're unhappy, we just continue and just deal with it and go forth with it. And then I drilled them on that. I said, no, you ought to do this, you ought to do that, because of this reason and that reason. It's beneficial, and it's more healthier, and all this good stuff. I mean, I delivered it, and I thought I delivered it in a professional manner, where I wasn't really forcing my opinion down their throats, like I mentioned earlier in our motor vlogs. But then again, they would say things, well, Dave, in Chinese culture, well, Dave, in Chinese culture, well, Dave, in Chinese culture. I feel like that's always their excuse. They really, really, and I think that's some of them really appreciate me, because what I really try to preach is, you have to really break out of society and culture's mold of what they want you to be, sort of, kinda. And that's really hard for them to do here, and there's a lot of society and cultural pressures, especially from immediate relatives such as parents, for example, to get married, to have a child, to pick this certain specific major. And I can relate, because I come from a conservative background as well. So I try to really share my opinion based on my past experiences through traveling to Yemen and so forth, and try to give them a different perspective. And it's really, for them, it's really inspiring. I feel like it really is. And I gotta get out of here, man. I'm stuck behind this bus. Yeah, so I'm heading to work, guys. That was a really interesting topic, huh? Yeah, usually I don't really have a topic. I just get on and I just say, welcome back to Beijing, and then usually my thoughts will just flow naturally, you know, now that I'm getting more accustomed to the traffic, the flow of traffic here, and the kind of the hecticness and randomness of it all. I'm getting used to it. I don't think I'm gonna catch this red light. Catch this green light. Thank you. We're gonna hop right into this bike lane because I do not feel like getting into the hopped right into this bike lane and I'm stuck behind this Toyota Camry. Yeah, what I was saying was that I don't really have a topic, you know. I just, whatever flows off the top of my head, whatever I'm thinking of, whatever I want to mention, it just comes naturally. So let me know what you guys know, especially for those of you who motovlog. How do you go about choosing what to say when you're on camera? Because I know thoughts usually flow much easier when you are off camera and you're thinking about what to talk about. But once you actually get on and you start riding, there's, you know, your mind gets invaded with so many different there's so many variables you have to think about when you're riding, so it can distract you from what you originally wanted to talk about. So yeah, let me know in the comments below. See ya, guys. Have a good one. If something happens, here, look, see, yo, come on, make up your mind. If something else interesting happens, I'll be sure to include it, but I'll end it right here. If the video ends and I just keep riding and nothing, this guy has a signal on. If I just keep, okay, sometimes I feel like I'm just rambling and stuttering and not saying anything productive. Bye. Have a good one. See ya. Wouldn't want to be ya. Whoa, watch it, guy. Dude, this guy's not paying attention. You just almost hit him. Beijing. I hate when you get stuck behind someone like this, man.